Sing me a song of a lass that is gone.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee and today's video is another video in the Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone playlist series. So if you're not ready for spoilers or you haven't read any of this book, I would highly recommend that you go to another video here on the channel. I'm sure there'll be something here that you will enjoy. So the first chapter I want to talk about today is chapter 38, which is titled Grim Reaper. Now in this chapter, it's the scene is set that Claire is off picking herbs or picking something sort of in the wilderness, not at the home residence, when she hears a mule in the distance. Now she knows the sounds of mules because of Clarence, the mule that they have somewhere. I don't actually know where Clarence is at this point. Is he with Masali or is he there on the bridge? Anyway, she knows the sounds of mules and what their distress sort of signals are, and she goes to see what is going on. That's when she sees two men, two mules, and a whole box of like guns and ammunition and things like that heading down the path. Claire knows that this is a disaster. Like, things like this happening on the ridge is no good. So she heads off straight away to go find Jamie and tell him everything that she's just seen. Now, Jamie is with Tom, the coffin builder, at this point in time. So when she gets there to tell him what she's seen, they realise that the direction that Claire has explained that they were going in was actually towards the Cunningham's house. Now, Jamie very, very swiftly goes off to try and follow them and catch up to them and see what's going on. But before he leaves, he tells Claire to go and get young Ian. Now, it didn't take long for young Ian, Claire, and Jamie and Tom to catch up to these two gentlemen with their mules and their boxes of guns and ammunition. We then find out that it is actually Felix Summers, who is one of the gentlemen with everything that's going on here. Jamie tells the captain and his like servant or helper guy that's carrying all of his stuff, "You best come with me to my house," and he dispatches young Ian to go and get Captain Cunningham. It's very obvious in this point that it's not actually an invitation for Captain Cunningham. He is being told, "You need to come right now to Jamie's house." Throughout different conversations with Captain Felix Summers, Jamie is told by Summers that, he's just carting goods to Captain Cunningham. It's nothing suspicious, there's nothing going on. But it's very obvious that this is not really what's happening here. There's a bit of an underlining sort of motion. This is not meant to be happening, Captain Cunningham. This is, I'm not okay with this. This is not what's meant to be going on here at the Ridge. We wanted peace and happiness. And this is clearly some sort of backhanded, behind the scenes sort of dealings going on here. Now, of course, once Captain Cunningham has arrived and the discussions with everybody has taken place, Jamie does say to Captain Cunningham, "You know that I will do anything to protect this ridge, and you will not do anything to put the ridge or anybody living on the ridge in danger. You will not jeopardize what we have here." And Captain Cunningham does agree, and he says, "I'm not doing anything that's going to put the ridge or the residents or anybody at risk." But it's definitely an underlining tension, and there's just, it's happening. Like, this is it. Captain Cunningham, he's sort of, I believe he's definitely not helping his cause here. He's definitely not, there's too much backhandedness going on in the Ridge residence. I believe we should have kicked Captain Cunningham out of the Ridge, but whatever, he's still there. It's definitely going to cause some tension. Definitely tension. Now, later that night, when it is just the family having the discussions, it is said by Jamie that, we need to buy more guns. It's starting to happen. We need to be prepared. We need to be set up. And it's here that Brie and Roger produce 3 more of the gold leafs or gold fragments and say, well, here it is. Here's the money that we can use to buy more guns. I know that Jamie did not want to use the gold back in whatever chapter it was back in the day, but I think this is definitely going to come in great need and be able to be used for, the gun purchasing and to help the family, because it's definitely started. It's just, I just really wasn't ready for another war. I wanted some sort of action in this book, but, we knew the war was coming, but I don't know. I'm sick of the wars. I just wish they'd go away. I know they're not going to, but I just wish they would. Chapter 39 was titled I Have Returned, and it is a very short chapter. It is literally just a letter that Brie has sent to Lord John Grey. Now, if you remember from the previous video, we had a lot of discussions about letter writing from Brie to Lord John and what the outcomes could be. Well, here we have the letter that she wrote. In the letter, of course, she goes into detail about how Denzel has been captured and the fact that, you know, it probably wouldn't have been appropriate for Claire to write said letter to him, but, you know, they wanted him to know that he had been captured. She also does mention in the letter that Jamie didn't actually want to tell Lord John in this letter what had happened because of the fact that, you know, he might have already been gone, or he probably already knows himself, as in Lord John Grey probably already knows. And it was very, very just... I feel like Brie let Lord John know that she knew everything that was going on in a roundabout way, but that could just be me reading into it. It was also really touching that she sent some drawings of her family, so the kids, and also the new house. I thought that was really nice, a nice little touching, fitting sort of thing, because you got to remember the Brie and Lord John have a really unique, nice relationship, which I absolutely love. I love their relationship, and the fact that Lord John really does have, like, this, obviously a big soft spot for Brie, but he has a respect for her as well. I really love their relationship, and I can't wait for them to reunite. I really hope that happens in this book. But as I said, that chapter was extremely, extremely short. It was I think it's the shortest chapter we've had in the book so far. And we know I've definitely said about some short chapters that have been in this book. But it does set the tone for the next, I think about 3 chapters, where there's a lot of in-depth discussions about letters and letters being sent and replying. So it does really go with a theme, which I really like that these were sort of grouped together. We have Brie's letter, and then we have the next chapter that I want to talk about. Now, the next chapter was chapter 40, and it was titled Black Brandy, and it's set in Savannah with Lord John Grey and his brother Hal. Now, in this chapter, again, as I said, the pre-tone of writing is definitely there. So Hal is writing a letter to M in regards to what they've sort of learnt about Ben, but he doesn't know what to write, and he doesn't know how to sort of address the situation. It's very sort of, it's more a chapter about what is happening in their lives at this current time. To be honest, I think this chapter definitely could have been avoided. It could, like, to me, it was just a fill-in chapter, or a filler episode, as I like to sort of call some episodes of TV series. But I mean, I don't really see the point as to why this chapter was there. They're discussing a little bit of everything, including William, who is still on the hunt for Ben, basically, to try and find out if he's really dead or alive, and what Hal is going to tell M in regards to, well, everything. I mean, it really was a chapter that I just really didn't think this one needed to be there. There was nothing in it that really sprung out as a memory point for me to even talk about today. So if there is something about this chapter that you think was really important, please put it in the comments below, because I might have just blanked out on this chapter. I don't know. There's just really nothing of substance from this chapter that I think we could have worked with, or I've used as a point for, okay, that means this is coming. It blew my mind, this chapter. It's the first one that I'm like, what's the point? I guess some people are actually going to tell me, well, it's a stepping stone for chapter 41, Kaylee. Like, come on. And it sort of is, I guess. So in chapter 41, which is titled Awkward Sod, Lord John Grey is writing a letter to Jamie. Now, in this letter, he's asking if Brie would like to go to Savannah to paint a portrait for Mr. Bundy, who wants to paint a portrait of his wife. And obviously Brie's drawing skills and painting skills are exceptional, and of course she would be fully paid and compensated and safe. Now, I don't see how chapter 40 was a big enough stepping stone for this, but the whole letter here that's happening from Lord John Grey, I did get very excited about, because it's like, okay, we've had our moments of distance. This could be the stepping stone for reuniting. This could be some, if you're going to send Brie, she's going to be safe. We're going to, she'll paint a portrait. She's going to get paid and commissioned to do this. It's a bit of a stepping stone towards happiness, maybe. I don't know, but I do love the fact that even in the letter, he's very, not precise, but he still, there's that sort of chemistry there of him writing the letter. Even though he's thinking about Jamie, he has these little smart ass moments, and I love that about Lord John Grey. I love that he's so precise and poised, but he has those little moments where he's just like, you're a sod. Like, you are just a sod when it comes to Jamie. I love it. Now, in the letter, Lord John also obviously makes it very clear that Brie's safety is at the utmost important, and he can guarantee her safety and her safe passage, and everything like that will be fine. Now, in the letter, as he's writing it, Hal is also there, and they're discussing the fact that, well, you know, the other point here is that William will be able to meet his sister Brie, and Brie will be able to speak to William and maybe sort of settle the dust a little bit. Hal is very, very like, well, if she is, you know, the daughter of the amazing Jamie and the amazing Claire, well, she could almost turn him against everybody because she's so, I don't know. It was just a nice compliment that Hal threw in there in regards to it. I don't know if he meant it as a compliment, but to me it came through as a compliment. But I thought about it, that's right. Like, Brie and William, they're both very similar in storylines here. So they, you know, their connection is going to be very deep, I think. When they do reunite again and they get to have that proper, oh, you're you, and oh, yeah, you're you, and oh, there's connections here, I think their relationship is going to be absolutely just connection. Like, I do believe they are absolutely going to be connected on a really deep level. And it's towards the end of this chapter that we realise just how desperate Lord John is to have William stay. Now, he makes that very clear as he says to Hal, well, I just want her to sort of get him to stay. I don't want him to leave. I don't want him to try and get away from his titles and his things, but I want him to stay. And I mean, we know that he does. We've known that for a long time, but the fact that it's now been written and stamped and it's there, you know, I want him to stay. It's that, it's so touching. It's like, I want William to stay with Lord John. I don't want him to go and live on the Ridge or be a massive part in Jamie's world, because they're just a little bit too different in that aspect. I want them to all be happy and get along and maybe visit. And then I'm okay with William coming and going. But I don't want him on the Ridge as a resident, because I just think there'll be too much conflict. I want him to stay with Lord John. I really do. I don't know if I'm biased though. What are your like thoughts on that? Do you envision, or do you see a happy sort of Jamie William living it out relationship sort of there over here, or do you see William living by himself, or do you see William and Lord John sort of, and I don't mean living with us in the same house, but like in the same area? Where do you think he's going to be situated, or where would you like him to be situated? That's probably a better one, because I know we have a lot of fast readers that are like 3 or 4 rereads of this book, and I'm still over here on chapter 40. Now, in full circleness of the letters, let's say, we then go into chapter 42, and this is where Jamie has now received the letter from Lord John Grey. It was at this point, it was sort of told in the book that it's been almost 2 years since Lord John and Jamie have seen each other. Now, that blew my mind. I did not realise such an extravagant amount of time had gone past. I mean, we know that, yeah, okay, time is passing with every waking chapter, but I didn't realise that it was 2 whole years. That blew my mind. Now, of course, Lord John is still a very touchy subject for Jamie and Claire, and the letter arriving definitely started up a heated discussion about the fact that Lord John is requesting or asking if Brie would like to come and paint the portrait. We know what's going on here, like the heated discussions, they're just not going to simmer down anytime soon. Whenever Lord John comes into play with Jamie and Claire, tempers definitely start to flare. He does ultimately tell Claire he will talk to Brie about it and see if she wants to go and discuss everything in relation to it. And it's not until the next day and a little bit of prodding from Claire that we find out that, well, Brie actually does want to go. Jamie does have the discussion, and Brie thinks it's probably a good idea. But of course, there's more than one underlining reason for why she wants to go and paint the portrait. Jamie, Claire, Brie and Roger, they know what's coming. They know they need to start getting guns, and they know they need to start preparing themselves for what is about to happen. And Brie's not silly, and she's very brave. So she ultimately has said, well, if I go, this is going to solve some of our problems. I can go, I'll 1, raise money from the portrait, 2, we'll be able to buy and transport guns and goods from Savannah back and forth. I'll also be able to drop off Jermaine and see Fergus and Masali. You know, there's lots of different things. Oh, and by the way, Roger can become ordained. Is that the word? Ordained. He can do his priest stuff. You know, there's so many different little benefits to going on this trip. Obviously, the guns is probably at the top of the list, but there's so many different little things here that can happen for just going there. It was really well put in that, you know, Brie being the reason to go. But again, her heart is worrying me. So I don't know how I feel about just Brie and Roger going away, because whenever they sort of are by themselves, bad things happen. And I really feel like ever since I thought a couple of videos ago about the fact that Brie is really in danger in the aspects of her heart, I'm so worried whenever she goes off on an adventure, or she, you know, and she hasn't even gone yet. She hasn't even left from this point. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I know you need to go, but maybe Jamie and Claire, maybe we should all go as a family. Maybe we should all just trottle along, because I'm just so worried about her. I'm really, really worried about what's going to happen to Brie. So as I said, the chapters that we talked about today really were a lot of, you know, letters and different correspondence and things like that. So I thought this is fantastic to be able to group all of these chapters together. There was lots of back and forth. Like, I mean, we had a letter to Lord John, a letter from Lord John, the reactions from Lord John's letter. I really enjoyed grouping these chapters together, because it felt full circle, and it definitely put in motion what is sort of coming up. The guns, you know, everything like that, they're all coming to a forefront. They're all important things that we're definitely going to be thinking about and discussing and reading. I can feel it coming up. So I'm really glad that these chapters were not sort of scattered throughout 5 or 6 or 7 chapters. They were sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, bang. We were able to put them all together. I love it when Diana writes like this and it's grouped together, as opposed to it's, okay, we've done this and now we've had something on the ridge and then another something and these filler chapters, and then, oh, okay, now we have the response from Lord John, say. I love that she's grouped them much closer together. It's great for me, especially for these videos. I know I said it earlier, but I know a lot of people are on their 2nd and 3rd rereads of this book. And for that, thank you so much for not ruining it in the comments for anybody. I appreciate it so much that everybody is sticking to the subjects at hand, or the chapters at hand in these videos. Thank you so much, because I've been so worried that someone's going to jump in and be like, hey, nah, blah, 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 this happened and it's ruined for everybody, or for myself, because I still haven't read it all. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so. It really does help the channel grow. I've hit my first sort of little milestone in my 12-month subscriber milestone, the first little step to that big goal. So thank you so much. I'm just so grateful. If you can think of anyone that might enjoy these videos or any of the Outlander videos, please consider sharing them around. That is how the channel also grows. I hope everybody is having a great day, and I'll see you very shortly for another Outlander video. Have a great day. Bye.
Sing me a song of a lass that is gone.